How are you
How are
doing?
you?
Doing great.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for taking time to be on the YouKnowDessie show.
Thanks for having me. I have to hold my phone up because I let somebody borrow my ring light with the
Oh,
holder.
man, it's all good. It's all good. But yeah, but thanks so much for being on the show. I know you do a lot of work, and you have a great YouTube channel where you talk about different things that are going on from technology and using SEO and different things
Yeah.
like that. So I really wanted to bring you on so you could talk to my following and talk to the show kind of about that. So first off, will you kind of tell them what it is that you do exactly? Because I know you do a few different things.
Yeah, I do a few different things. Formerly an attorney, turned fashionpreneur. So my first business was a personal shopping business that I started. And that was over 10 years ago, and got into journalism, writing for CBS, doing TV for Fox,
Yeah.
and then learned like social media and marketing and content marketing along the way. And learning all of those things allowed me to leave my job as an attorney
Uh-huh.
and to monetize my platform. So once I kind of figured it out and I saw a lot of small businesses not doing marketing the right way,
Yeah.
I opened up my agency almost 5 years ago, Think 3 Media. So we do creative marketing, content marketing strategy, we social media strategy, and public relations is probably I would say 70% of the business. So making sure people are visible, TV, radio, press,
Okay.
but social media and all that stuff is PR too, and people don't even consider like how your LinkedIn profile speaks for you without you even being there. So we teach all those things.
Yeah, and that's really great. And I'm learning so much. Like I just launched the show less than a month ago, but it's already grown so much. And kind of I was just paying attention to what's going on. Like if you're if you have a business or if you're a celebrity or not a celebrity, kind of whatever you have going on, you can't get out to those traditional media outlets right now. And then for the most part, they're either focused on the pandemic or they're focused on the election or whatever the top news story of the day is. So I wanted to be able to provide a platform for those who don't fall under any of those categories, basically.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. And it's so important for people to, like, right now is the time to think outside of the box. Like it is a negative point in time, but it's also positive where all those crazy ideas that you have may just work. So just do it.
yeah, and I feel like the pandemic sped up things from a technology standpoint. When you talk about retail shopping was already kind of going down anyway. So of course that's going to just increase more online shopping. The same with terrestrial radio. That's kind of going down, whereas podcasts and things like that are building. Like you just see Joe Rogan just did a huge deal with Spotify, and so did The Ringer as well. So, talk about that because I know you have a podcast as well, correct?
Yeah, so I started my podcast probably several years ago just to do just like what you're doing. Hey, I found this out, or I made it into Mark Cuban's keynote. Maybe you didn't, so I'm gonna throw it up on the podcast so you have access to the same information. And I knew that podcasting, that people weren't listening to radio as much anymore, and even on TV people aren't tuned in because they're in their cars in the morning. They're more likely to listen to a podcast, and they're not going to be at home to catch the
Right.
early morning TV. And so in doing that, I just figured out, here's the niche, what people tune in for me for. So I'm going to make it available audio. If you don't want audio, I got it visual on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you just want little snippets, I have the blog you can go to.
Yeah.
So I just chop it up and they get it how they get it. But it's a great way to expand your audience and a great way to get your content out.
Yeah, and I want to speak to that as well. How you said in different ways, because sometimes you have a little bit more time and you can listen to a 45-minute or an hour podcast, but other times you just need quick 2 or 3 minute video, a 5 minute video, and then like you said, sometimes like for instance, I listen to Joe Budden podcast a lot.
Mhm.
That's because I'm driving and moving around. it's rare that I actually watch it on YouTube, but it is available. And when you consider a podcast like Noriega's Drink Champs, like they were able to secure 3 different deals, one with Revolt TV and Diddy, one with Tidal and Jay-Z, and one
Right.
with Mass Appeal and Nas. So it just you can just see how it's growing and growing and growing, and different platforms.
Well, here's what people don't even consider. So you brought up SEO, and I'm glad that you did,
Yeah.
because search engine optimization for your website, for your business, whatever you're putting out there is probably one of the most important things you can do if you're trying to go outside of your current network and be found. So
Yeah.
you want, when people search for whatever it is that you're doing, for your content to come up.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't understand is, like, number one, YouTube is the number 2 search engine outside of Google.
Right.
If somebody is searching for, best African American business, whatever,
Yeah.
you want your content on YouTube to come up in its list of videos that's on that first page.
Yeah.
Or when it comes to podcasting, there's a section where you can edit the caption and include links and do all of that stuff. That all has to do with SEO. And so doing all of these mediums makes it so much easier for these people to find you,
Yeah.
and for your audience to find you, and eventually you grow that audience, you go viral, and you can monetize your platform.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't consider it. It's just, I want to start a podcast.
Right.
Or I want to start a YouTube channel. And it's like, no.
Yeah. And it's like,
Yeah.
there'll be 5 people listening to it or watching.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
there's levels to this.
right. But that's also why it's so important to even like kind of stay up to date. Like we see that there's definitely an algorithm going on with Facebook and Instagram where only certain things are getting through. But it's like one thing that you can recognize is when people use IGTV or when people use IG Live, they automatically go to the top for whatever reason. So
Right.
it's okay, if I'm trying to be a social media influencer or whatever else and get to the top, then those are the things that I need to do more than just posting a picture or posting a flyer or whatever.
And that, all of that is true. And another pro tip is that anytime any of these platforms launch something new, whether you know how to use it or not, if you're the first to jump in and try it, they will push you up the ranks so fast because they want people to see you using the new stuff. So for instance, Instagram stories now has all of the, if you swipe up, you can see that they have all of the challenges.
Yeah.
So if you're doing the Meg Thee Stallion challenge, I know Chloe and Halle just released one, or if you tap that and include that in your story, they're going to expose you to all the people that want to see that challenge because you're using their new features.
Yeah.
Or when LinkedIn drops new features, if you use it the day they drop the feature, they are going to show it to everyone within your network and within those other networks. It's insane. So you have to be kind of like first to just hop in there and try it.
Right. And that's what I always try to be, an early adopter, basically, because you can already see the writing on the wall. Like when once the pandemic happened, I just already knew, like, okay, it's gonna be 1 million people going live. Like, I didn't even have a logo when I started, but I'm like, let me just get it out there.
And that's it. Sometimes you just have to get in the game, and you can build all the rest of the stuff along the way. So if you don't have a logo, who cares? If you have a message, you have a great message, you have other people that are willing to spread that message, you can build it along the way, and be just fine. And Facebook is dropping a ton of new features. They just dropped messenger rooms. So if you have a private Facebook group, now they're trying to compete with Zoom. So you can now do your own Zooms within your private Facebook groups because they don't want you using that on another platform.
Exactly. Same thing with what I tell a lot of my clients is, like if you put something on YouTube and then like put it on Facebook, like nobody's ever gonna see it.
No.
Like you have to load it directly to Facebook because they want to get those views there. They don't want to give the views to YouTube.
Right. And what I do with that, if I want to transfer the audience, I do my teaser on Facebook. So I'll upload that video as a teaser, a short snippet. I'll upload like something so juicy where they're like, oh my God, we need the full video. And that last slide in the video says, watch the full video on my YouTube channel. And then that transfers them over from Facebook to YouTube so that I don't get a ding on my report card from Facebook for uploading a YouTube video. So that's great. Absolutely great advice.
Yeah. And then, somebody shout out your lipstick. Okay.
Thanks, bro. This is a new company called Bite. And somebody had a question about
do you think it's going to make it harder to be heard if everyone is doing podcasts now?
I totally get that the market is saturated with everybody doing podcasts, but I just say, try to be as strategic as possible. So if you're trying to launch a podcast, really narrow down your niche in your topic and do like Dessie is doing. Maybe your first set of interviews are going to be people who already have brands and audiences that they can transfer over into your podcast, and that can help grow it a lot faster.
Yeah. And I always say that the cream rises to the top at the end. And if you're consistent with it, if you know that you're dropping, however consistent it is, whether it's weekly, daily, whatever you want to do, if once you get people kind of in that, then they will understand it and support you more that way.
And then take your content, Go Lucky 2.0, take that and then chop it up in different ways across different platforms, but always relink them back to your podcast, right? So LinkedIn is an amazing audience for that. They love to listen. They love to learn. So whatever your podcast, and dump it there. But you can always take that conversation and transcribe it. Now you can put it online as an article, or you can take quotes and put it on Instagram and say, listen to the full interview here. You just have to be really creative in driving that traffic always back to that link to your podcast to grow that audience.
Yeah, it's basically repurposing the exact same content. You can take one 30-minute interview and use it, 20 different ways if you know how to repurpose it properly. It can be both. It can be an audiogram. It can be a teaser. It can be, it's so many different ways to do it.
Right. And I know there's a lot of people podcasting right now, but the cream will always rise to the top. Consistency is so key. There's a guy that I just interviewed a couple of weeks ago where he was only doing one per week. And he was just posting it on LinkedIn, and it was information that people really, really needed. It was like inspirational. And then he was able to leave his full-time job, and now he just podcasts full-time because it's fully monetized.
Yeah. And the other thing that I say, kind of going back to what you said about niche, I think that's so important because, usually when people start a podcast, they want to keep it general and they want to talk about everything. Like if you're talking about pop culture and you're not a celebrity, I don't really need you know what I'm saying? Unless you have like an interesting perspective, unless you go talk about, pop culture from the Black woman standpoint or, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever, like that. It has to be some kind of niche to it in order to get people to support it, So I'm talking to a few different companies, like one about producing a podcast about commercial real estate and interviewing people in that field. One is about the liquor industry and interviewing people there, because outside of that, if I just get on here talking about pop culture and things like that, people gonna be like, man, I can listen to Joe Budden.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have to be fired up. Like, people can feel energy and passion and those things within the podcast or on your video. So people know when I start getting real nerdy and talking about PR and marketing, and they're like, oh my God, okay, she's in her lane. If I were to start talking, maybe even, 90 Day Fiance and all those shows. But outside of that, if I were talking about it, people would be able to tell, like, oh, she's doing this because this is the trend. It's not really something that she feels strongly about.
Yeah. And going back to passion, you have to be passionate about things like this because it doesn't pay right away all the time. Now you might get, and you know what I'm saying, and get a sponsor or something to come through early. But for the most part, you kind of have to build it up. And it's so important to have that proof of concept, versus just saying, I have an idea, you should support me or you should sponsor. Like, I hadn't even seen it yet.
Right. Right. Yeah, you can't, you want to be strategic and build it like a business, but I think keeping it in perspective that sometimes it takes time, and
Yes.
it's going to be that passion, and it's going to be that reason that you started it that's going to keep you going when, you know, the money's not coming or the listeners aren't coming or you're checking your views and the analytics are like, you
Yeah.
know, it's going to be that passion that's going to keep you going. So yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
agree.
one thing that people get so discouraged by Instagram likes or views or things like that. It's like, if you stay consistent and you really work at it, like, all of that's gonna come the same way the money is gonna come. Like, you just have to do the work. You can't just, oh man, it was only one person watching. Like, you don't really know if it was one person the whole time or if people were coming in and out, and you don't know who that one person was. That might be the one person that, you know, that is gonna come with that check. So you just never know.
Yeah, I agree. Like when I first started my YouTube channel, there was one video I did that I had forgotten about. It only had like 35 views.
Yeah.
But there was a woman that found it in another state. She contacted me and said, Leah, that was exactly what I needed right now. And she became a client. Like she came ready to pay. Like, God sent me to you to this video. And I'm like, which one?
Yeah.
And it was the one that only had like 35 views, right?
Uh-huh.
And then recently, you know, I just don't pay attention to likes and comments. I believe that we all have, and sorry about that. Sorry, my phone, 20%. We all have an audience that we're intended to serve. And
Yeah.
If you're doing it from a business perspective, you may get 20 likes, but maybe 5 out of those likes are your target customer. They're going to be paying customers. So serve the people that you have, and don't worry about trying to be like everybody else with 50,000, 75,000. I'm happy with who I have, because when it's time for me to launch something or I need their support, they're very dedicated. Very dedicated. So I don't gauge anything off of likes at all.
Yeah, and that's the same with followings and things like that. Like you say, there's a lot of people that get deals based off of engagement rather than the number of people that follow them. Like, okay, I got 1 million followers, but are people really like engaging with that, or are they just looking and going on? Like, but no, if you got 1,000 followers but 1,000 engaged people, then you know that's completely different.
I agree. And so that goes back to your follower here that was talking about the podcast, or anybody else that's doing something where you don't really have the numbers that you think that they want. You can still be just as intentional to track that engagement, or to track that when I post this is how many comments or questions I got or emails I got about that, and use that to leverage getting a sponsor or getting a collaboration versus, you know, the numbers. And I've done that so many more times where I'm like, don't look at my follower count, but I can tell you when I worked with this brand, how many conversions I got. And that intentionality has gotten me so far, improving my point. And they will listen.
Right, exactly. So before I get you out of here, and I really appreciate your time today. This has been really, really great. And this is a lot of free game for people actually and taking notes. So before I get you out of here, where can people find you? If people want to work with you, where can they listen to your podcast? Like, tell them all that.
There's a joke, and I'm having a shirt made that says I'm everywhere, because everybody in Dallas is like, Leah, you're everywhere. So I'm everywhere. But you can follow me right here at the Leah Frazier, and that is my social media handle across all of my platforms. Okay. If you want to reach out, you can go to leahfrazier.com and contact me through my form there, whether it's for PR, I model, I host, I MC, I do interviews, whatever you want. YouTube channel is Leah Frazier, so go and subscribe. We have a whole playlist of small business videos that you can watch, from SEO to how to ask for your value and salary negotiations. I mean, it's clutch. And my podcast is Inspire and Intel, so there's an N in between those two words, Inspire and Intel. And we're on 11 platforms: Spotify, Google Play, Apple, Stitcher, whatever. We're there.
So thank you so much again.
Thanks.
And I hope you have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.